Hey, it's Jacob. Welcome to this new video. So today I want to talk about GitHub. So whether or not you should learn about GitHub, right? Is that something that you really need, or is that just a nice to have, or is that something that you should not even use at all, right? So the first question I'm gonna ask you is, or I'm gonna give you the answer right away. Like you can use GitHub, like you should learn GitHub if you're able to give me the reason why. And if that reason is not like because somebody else, because everybody says so, right? Everybody is telling me to use GitHub because it's awesome. Well, that's not a good reason, right? You need to actually be able to explain like why do you need that tool, right? This is a tool that is solving a problem, and you need to understand the problem it's solving in order to know that if whether or not you have that problem, or if you don't, because if you don't have that problem, there is no use for it. You shouldn't use it if you don't need to solve the problem. And that's basically the main idea. I want to talk also in this video about like the how to apply that to most, like a lot of different things, right? Like GitHub is just an example that I'm showing you here in order for you to keep extrapolating on that example, because I see that problem happening a lot, right? So let's get started with GitHub. So what is GitHub and what problem does that solve, right? So let's say you have like a Python file here. You're working with Python. So this is your .py and this is you, right? So one of the main problems that GitHub is solving is, so let me get a different color. So this is you and you're working on this one, right? And let's say you have like a different person, let's say another person here that you're working with, right? And that person also works on that, right? The same file. How are you gonna merge those two things, right? Like, what if you are working at the same time here? How are you gonna like manage that? And that's basically the problem that GitHub is doing, because like if let's say if you are, let's do two colors, like you are green and the other person uh is let's say red, right? So let's say you did this part and the person in red did that part, right? Then it's going to be easy for GitHub to make it, like to merge it basically, right? So this is the main problem that GitHub is solving. So if you don't have that problem, just because like there is no one else and you're the only one working on that on something, then there is no point in using GitHub for that, right? Now, of course, like there is another thing that is that GitHub is helping with, right? So I'm going to talk about that now. Let's say you have like you've been working on one version. Let's call it version 1, and so you've been working on this one, right? And so what you want to do is let's say you keep working and then you see that you get stuck basically, right? And so here you basically like if you get stuck, sometimes you need to troubleshoot it. Yeah, that's what let's yeah, anyway, let's talk about that. Let's talk about it that way, right? You have a problem, you're stuck. What do? Then you don't have a choice. You need to troubleshoot that version, right? And then you keep working and you keep getting stuck. And then so you're like, all right, I'm gonna change that. I'm gonna remove that line of code, and then I'm gonna keep working on this one. But then you realize that, oh, this whole time like I was wrong. Like this was the problem, right? So I need to update this one, and now, but the problem is now I removed that, and so it has become like a different file now, and it's kind of difficult, and I can't really recover from everything that I did, right? So I don't know what to do. So one thing to do is, let's clear that up, is to use different versions, right? So let's say here version 1, then you have, so you keep working on version 1. This is the very first version, right? So then you get version 2, and then you get version 3, right? So let's say that this is version 3. Oops. Sorry. So, okay. So this is version 3 here. Let's keep that scenario, but let's say that now you have multiple versions. So what happens? You work on this, you get stuck, right? And then you solve the problem, and you know that the problem was here, so you fixed it. But you also like broke that part. So what you can do now, this is sometimes easier. Instead of like working on that and keep like making it work, what you can do is you delete this one, this version, and then you take that one, right? And then you get back to this one, and you keep working on that one, because now you know like this was the problem, so you can update it very easily and you can keep working, right? So that is really good, right? And like, let's go back to the point of the video here, which is GitHub. This is GitHub. It's going to allow you to like keep track of the different versions, right? So that is awesome. That's a really, really good problem that it is solving, right? But if you are using GitHub just for that, and you are not going to merge different types of different parts of the code, because like multiple people, like you have a team of people that are working on the same files, then I would argue that maybe it's not for you, because, well, all it's doing is basically like getting versions of the code. Like basically you can do that by yourself, right? Like it's not very difficult to like archive different versions like in a folder or something, different versions of the code, and then like, you know, let's say every time that you do a modification, then you archive it, right? It's not very difficult to do. And the problem is like GitHub is, I mean, a lot of people are going to say, yeah, this is good, this is awesome, and whatever. It is kind of sophisticated. Like, it is going to take time to use it, right? And first, it's going to take time to use it, but also, like, it's going to take time to learn how to use it, right? So it's heavy. So the point is, there is a trade-off, and people don't talk about the trade-offs sometimes. So it's like, it's good to have GitHub, but if you don't use it, if you don't need it, don't use it, is the point, right? And if all you want to do is that, well, you can just do it by yourself and you don't need to use GitHub. Quite frankly, I'm going to tell you for myself, for a small project, I'm not even going to use GitHub, even though I know how to use it, right? That's just to tell you that using it is also heavy. And so if there is no point, don't use it. So that's kind of the reason, that's kind of the entire point of the video here, right? Like the real, let me clear that up, and let's talk about like the real point of the video, which is like when to learn things, basically, right? When should you learn things? Well, you should learn things when you have a use for them, right? Because it's, again, a trade-off of like, if you're gonna use your time and use that time to do that, then you're not gonna use it to do something else, right? And there are tons of other things that are actually very, very useful. And so it's like, if you don't have a problem, don't start like don't solve a problem that you do not have, right? And I think it's Elon Musk that said, like, one of the biggest problems that engineers have is they try to optimize something that shouldn't exist in the first place. Well, this is exactly the same thing, right? Don't try to optimize for things when you don't need it, because like it's going to take time and it's going to make like your entire process a lot more heavy, right? And when you think about it, it's also one way to procrastinate on doing the actual things that matter. Because sometimes the actual things that matter, they might be difficult sometimes. You know, you need to actually it's going to require a lot of cognitive load in order to solve the problem. But and a lot of time also. So engineers tend to like do things that don't really matter just because like they heard that could be a good thing, but understand that it's a trap and it's a way to procrastinate on the real things. So that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you like this type of content, get click on the link in the description. You'll get you can be part of my contacts and you'll get exclusive content from me. So thank you and see you in the next one.